Love is a funny little thing, isn't it? It's wild and weird, and sometimes it can come from the last place you'd expect. Like how your partner can be someone you never thought you'd be with, but you share a rare connection and chemistry you've never had before. That, despite your obvious differences and the obstacles that sprout because of them, you still find your connection runs so deep that it's all worth it. And as time goes on, you notice you're both stronger the longer you stay together and tackle the issues that long-term relationships can bring. Or like how your partner can be a bear. Like an actual bear with fur and claws and everything. Or like how those two examples could be the same. I mean, probably not, because an actual bear would probably eat your face off, and I'm fairly convinced it's illegal, but for the sake of making my editorial make sense, let's say it can. Would your differences in the judgment that comes with such a relationship be too much to handle? Or are they just trials to overcome to have a love that really means something to you? This is the very question asked by today's subject, My Boyfriend is a Bear, written by Pamela Robin with art by Kat Ferris and published by Oni Press. For those not aware of this fairly obscure book, My Boyfriend is a Bear was released in 2018 and stars Nora, a 28-year-old woman who lives in Los Angeles. She works at a call center for a pop-up scam where she, in her own words, gets yelled at all day. She also has a history of dating shitty men that she presents to us in a lovingly presented collage of douchebags I have dated, where she regales us with all her douchebag exes and why they were douchebags, including such gems as always wore puka shells, which, yeah, I mean, we all go through an awkward phase, okay? Anyway, her luck changes one day when she's camping with a soon-to-be ex-douchebag, and she takes a walk to get away from his douchiness. While out on this walk of nature, she encounters a peculiar black bear, who she lovingly calls Bear for the rest of the series, and immediately flees for her life. Sometime later, after breaking up with her aforementioned douchebag, she goes out in the town with her two polar opposite friends, Deborah and Carla. Deborah is more insecure and traditional, while Carla is more confident and open-minded. They spend some time imagining the perfect partner before falling into a drunken spiral resulting in Nora shouting about how she'll never find her perfect match. When she returns home, she is quite surprised to find the same bear from the forest rummaging through her trash cans. But, equally as surprising, he comes bearing gifts, as he also returns a bunch of magazines she left behind during her camping trip. This sparks a rather unconventional relationship between woman and bear, as they take great pains to learn as much about each other as possible. In Nora's case, that means reading a lot of books about bears and trying to understand what he likes and how he communicates. In Bear's case, it's largely about adapting to society and learning how to be supportive of her while also exploring this new world he's been introduced to. Of course, with any new relationship, there's always the awkward part of having to introduce your new boo to your friends and family, which, in this case, can come with its own unique challenges. Nora decides to introduce Bear to Deborah and Carla first, and it goes about as well as you'd expect. Deborah seems surprisingly open-minded about the concept and decides to give Bear a chance. Carla, on the other hand, has a much more visceral reaction and pretty much decides she hates Bear immediately. But it's okay because Bear juggles some creamers and everyone gets a giggle. I mean, honestly, who could say no to that, right? We don't really see much of the first meeting with the parents, but we can guess pretty much from the two panels they do show that it did not go well. But as the relationship becomes more public, one thing becomes abundantly clear. Everyone that's judging them harshly is judging it based on what Bear is, rather than who Bear is. And who he is good for her. They play games and pranks together, they're open and accepting of each other, but they still help each other grow. Bear in particular even gets a job and learns to socialize with their friends on a personal level, as well as in party scenarios. Nora, in return, works tirelessly to understand his unique language and his very particular needs. But even with all the positive influences that Bear provides in her life, Nora can't escape the doubt that is brought about by the judgment from her friends and family and her own creeping thoughts about their huge differences. After all, he is still a bear, and tied down to instinct as a result, things that are beyond either of their control. Things only get harder when they both realize that there will come a time when Bear has to go into hibernation, which adds what feels like a ticking clock to their relationship, as they both have to contemplate whether or not what they have can survive it. But even while their relationship is tested by this unavoidable reality, they still do everything they can to enjoy the time they have left, and to support each other however they can in big and small ways. Nora helps him get ready for his hibernation, feeding him mountains of food and being positive and supportive as much as she can, while Bear makes sure their time is spent having fun or being close, and still caring for her in the ways that she needs. Including with the scene with her cat that, nope, I'm not gonna talk about it, it's too personal, it's too real, I cry every time I read it, just, no, moving on. When the time finally comes and they're forced into a temporary separation, or a break if you prefer, Nora has a hard time readjusting to being by herself again. During this process, though, Deborah and her mother start talking about Bear as if he's either cheating on her or has left her completely. Neither of which is remotely true, but they try to convince her of this regardless. These insecurities gnaw at her to the point where she even checks up on him in his cave only to find that, yeah, he's still doing exactly what she thought he was doing. Her trust wasn't misplaced. So she accepts this fact and stops listening to the people who only judge her boyfriend on what he is, because she knows who he is. She acknowledges that even if she never sees him again, she'll still be able to take solace in the love and acceptance they shared. And she trusts that he will come back to her when he's ready. And luckily for her, once again, her trust wasn't misplaced. Look, love can be unpredictable and unreasonable. And the partner you find that might actually be right for you may just be the last kind of person you expect yourself to be with. Maybe they don't have the kind of body type you imagine you'd be with, or maybe they have very different habits than you do. Maybe they're clumsier or goofier or weirder than you ever thought your partner would be. Maybe they're not what your parents had in mind for you. Maybe your friends are confused that this is the one you chose. But at the end of the day, if this person can accept you unconditionally and you can do the same, if you can help each other grow and feel loved and feel safe, then it's enough. It's worth it. No relationship is ever perfect, and there's parts about each other that will frustrate you, and you'll probably end up hurting each other at some point whether you mean to or not. But it's about being able to come together and just be. Learning to accept the love your partner is willing to give and give the same in kind. So yeah, maybe your partner will end up being someone who neither you, your family, or your friends could have possibly seen coming. But maybe the qualities that make them different are the things you'll find you appreciate the most. Even if it comes from a 500-pound black bear. That's a joke, don't date bears. And if you can accept and appreciate what makes your partner different while also encouraging and supporting each other's growth, then you can truly build a relationship worth waiting for. Sometimes the people in your life that say they care will only see the surface of your unconventional partner and will try to put you down because of it. There are just moments when your significant other will never win them over because what they are will never be acceptable to them. But when all they see is the what, not the who, when they're focused on the idea of them rather than the reality, then they're not worth wasting time to try to convince them otherwise. They may not be able to see the great person you're with, but you do, and that can be all the approval you need. That being said, sometimes friends and family can see abusive and toxic behavior you're not aware of, so just look for context. And that's not to say every part of them will be easy for you to accept either, or that you even should. No matter how similar or how different your partner is to you, there will always be something about them that's going to get on your nerves or may genuinely cause problems that threaten your relationship. But that's just part of the process. That's part of the growth. You learn in time what parts of them you simply adapt to and what parts need to change. That's not change either of you can really force, but you can learn how to work on it together and become stronger the more you do so. Although an important distinction to make here is that no matter what problems you two want to work on, there should still be an underlying acceptance of who they are, their character, but not necessarily their behavior. You can't change character and you shouldn't try, but behavior is something you can absolutely work on, and you both need to make your love work. Alright, I'm starting to ramble, but my point is this. Sometimes, if you're lucky, you'll find someone who is different in all the right ways. Someone who helps shape you into your best self, and with whom you can do the same. Someone who sees you in a way that you've never felt seen. And even when things get hard, and the inevitable challenges that come with being different spring up, as well as just relationship problems that happen in general, they're worth it. No matter how you imagine your partner would be, no matter what your family and friends imagined for you, they're worth it. No matter the work you both had to put in to build trust, love, and friendship and maintain it, they're worth it. You can't always control where love will find you. But if it provides feelings of love, acceptance, understanding, and support, then it's worth it to hold on to it for as long as you can. Maybe it'll last, maybe it won't. But I promise you, you won't regret a single moment.